Welcome to the Women Tell All, or rather, should I say, the Women Yell All. It's that time of year where we get to hear what the women have to say. Welcome back, and just for clarity, I want to keep this video short because, and I also want you to know, just for clarity, that I did also already watch the fantasy suites, so that information that I now have is informing me on the Women Tell All. And I have to tell you, in general, it's actually helpful to me because this has been one of the most confusing tell-alls I've ever seen. That's right, I couldn't quite figure out what was it. Because sure, Jesse Palmer is the new host, and I thought that's why things might have felt a little bit chaotic. But the energy that the women was bringing to me felt unlike anything I'd ever seen. And in fact, frankly, I had been at the tell-all for Peter's season with Chris Harrison, and despite the women being equally spicy on that show, somehow it felt like it had a little bit more rhythm or focus. And I'll tell you what was missing for me in this tell-all is I didn't know what to expect. Like, usually we have a sense that there is a grieving person who wants to find out why the lead dumped her, somebody who's got a beef. But here it seemed to me to just lack that kind of rhythm, and we didn't quite find out what was going on, and I didn't have the apologies that I really wanted. So what was missing for me was the format, kind of the order. And therefore, we saw a lot of cross-talking and everyone talking over each other. These were the three things that just made it hard for me to watch. The cross-talking and the bullying. 2, the lack of apologies, quite honestly, left me staying till the end, but quite disappointed. And the ending, I can't help but sense that the energy in the room was not a positive one. Now, having said that, if I had not been committed to coming and commenting on it, I, like many people, would have just turned it off. But let's start out with the tell-all with the Shanae show. And wow, the women did not hold back. Now, what I did find interesting is that we did learn a little bit more about Shanae. Why were the women so angry with her? Well, we did know because we saw it being filmed and she didn't have many nice things to say about anyone. I truly do believe there was insecurities underneath all of that. But she also didn't interact a lot with the women. She sequestered her in her room. So no wonder the women finally felt like now is our chance to get it all out. And Shanae doubles down that somehow she's being real and the other women being fake. But if real is mean and fake is nice, then I gotta be honest, I'll take fake any day. And quite honestly, Jesse did try to calm the women down, but about 6 minutes in, we were just in a free fall. And what's obvious to me is that the women get pretty amped up, right? They're auditioning for Bachelor in Paradise, and the cameras are on, and it's like, this is my chance to say everything. But when the women take the gloves off, even more reserved people like Genevieve, they're finding their voice, and part of me wants to say that's great, but let's be careful what we're saying with our voice, right? Jill calls Shanae a budget-ass Meryl Streep. Sierra calls Shanae a narcissist. Lindsay calls Shanae, or rather, she says that Shanae should rot in Ohio. Why Ohio? What did Ohio ever do? And then when Shanae does go up to the hot seat, Genevieve says something about her underwear and talks about her body. And I really just have to say, we have to have a limit to this. This is really not okay to attack women like that. But you can see that the women themselves are angry, and the question is why. And I want to get to that. They're all wound up, right? Then when we finally see Shanae and Genevieve and the 2-on-1 kind of like, or on the hot seat essentially, it mimics the 2-on-1. And Shanae is trying to make herself look good about how she was grieving after the show, but Genevieve was out hooking up maybe with Aaron. But really, who cares, right? They're single people, they're adults, they can do what they want. All of these conversations just seem silly. What I really wanted was a deeper conversation. And for me, what was really missing is closure on some of these topics. Like, for instance, we do hear from Shanae that she thinks Elizabeth is still fake, but we didn't advance that conversation any, did we? We didn't talk about the ADHD dialogue, a huge topic that gets missed. While I do appreciate online Clayton has been apologizing to Elizabeth, there needed to be a public statement. And maybe they filmed it, but they just kept it out of the edits, right? Now, then the conversation with Sarah and Clayton. Did he cry? Did he not? Well, I did hear an interesting piece of information on this, and this is why I think this may help you understand Sarah. So she feels justified in her statement, supposedly that Clayton was crying on her date. Well, how would you miss that? How would you not know? But here's what I heard happen. So if you recall, on their first date, Sarah and Clayton have to put their skivvies on, their underwear on, and run around to do a scavenger hunt. Well, she was obviously feeling very uncomfortable with it. And supposedly the producers said to her to make her feel better, oh, Clayton's over there crying too. Okay, so I can see it from Sarah's perspective if that's really what she thought, that Clayton was crying too. And then now, should she have gone back to the group and told them that? Well, that's not really right, because the way that she's presenting it, right, is that you're having a deep conversation somehow and that both of you are crying. And so how would you miss that? So maybe Clayton didn't know that information either, that one of the producers had fed that to Sarah differently, but it really made Sarah look bad, right? That she got caught in a lie, and it just didn't feel right to me. But we know this is not the first time that the producers have created drama. What's disappointing to me is that we don't get more closure, right? And we didn't see Jesse pushing Shanae to truly apologize. My hope is maybe that Jesse grows into his role, right? Chris Harrison is a hard act to follow, and I don't envy Jesse, and I'm imagining that hosting ESPN is certainly easier than hosting a group of women all yelling at a women tell-all. But I had hoped that that would have been something that happened. Now, next up is Teddy in the hot seat. And she tells the story that Clayton's brother slid into her DMs. And the question is, which brother, right? And to me, it's, again, another miss. I feel like, how have we gotten so far in this season that we know so little about Clayton? We don't know about his brothers. Why aren't we showing pictures of them? There's pictures on his Instagram page with his brothers, and it looks like a Tough Mudder. It's like, well, that's a disappointment. But Teddy says, no, I don't want to have anything to do with any more of the Eckerd boys. And I think, interesting. Then Serene has her moment too. And by the way, she looks beautiful as usual. But she's not that sad, right? Anyway, we hear from Serene. We wish her the best. She has no regrets. She put her heart out there and she would do it again. I'm hopeful that one of these women will become the Bachelorette. Now, finally, Clayton comes out, and usually there's cheers, right? Or at least that awkward laughter that your ex is up on stage and it's like, oh, hi. And we get lots of like, oh, how are yous? But that didn't happen either. Another strange one for me. So we don't see that. Now, it seems like the audience is actually happier to see Clayton than the women are. And here's the thing, again, I had no idea why. But it's not just one or two of them, it's most of them. And as I said, even on Peter's season that I was there, the women somehow still respected Peter, and you felt like the lead had a higher position. And here I didn't sense that. Because instead, the women start throwing tomatoes at Clayton, right? And maybe Clayton's the scapegoat because, in all honesty, I can't help but think Clayton's been set up too, right? We can't forget that production has had their hand in it too. Did they encourage Clayton to keep Shanae this whole time? I've been worried about that. We know that happens. But another piece of information about why the girls are upset is what I'd heard on a podcast about what Sierra said, that Clayton clearly had his favorites, and because there was so much time lost with Shanae, that many of the women felt like they never had a chance, they never had a turn. So now they're bringing that energy into the group because they haven't been heard. Finally, Marlena gives Clayton some props. She's the one who says that. Even Kira, right? The woman who gives him an underhanded compliment about watching it back, that she's attracted to him. And oh, by the way, if you're still single, so am I. Haven't seen that before either. And then Teddy's comment, checking in on Clayton. I hope you're okay. That one, I have to say, what's going on here? Now, in that moment, I feel bad for Clayton, right? First off, he doesn't look great. He doesn't look happy. He just doesn't have that joy, right? There's something missing. And so my question is, he doesn't look like a man who's found love. He looks like a man who needs a ride to get out of there. I wrote in my post, maybe Gabby's dad can give him a ride out of there. But overall, the energy is mostly anger. And usually underneath anger, there's sadness, right? Because Clayton himself says, I've made a lot of mistakes. I do think that was a really good move on his part. But he's up and down, and then he talks about it having been a dream. And I'm not sure many of the women are echoing that, right? So one minute he's saying he's sorry, but then he says, I don't regret anything because I had the best of intentions. And I get the sense, Clayton, throughout this whole thing, he really has been a people pleaser. He wants people to like him. No doubt that he cares very much. He's really all in. But if we just look at this Women Tell All, especially compared to the others, because I've been watching it for so long, there were things that just were off for me, right? Because we didn't get to see, usually at the end, we see a montage of the 3 or the 2 remaining women, and there was sort of like this buildup for the finale, right? And we would be cutting into those clips. But instead, there was just more time and space to attack Clayton, which didn't feel really good at all, right? Sierra then goes at it again and says that he's interested in lust, not love. He's not ready for marriage. But who's to say who's ready for marriage, right? So I really am trying so hard to hold judgment about this. But I can't help but think the women being upset speaks volumes. And Sierra somehow is the spokesperson that she goes up against Clayton, right? And then she says, I'm confused, right? Clayton himself is confused by Shanae. He says to Shanae, I trusted you, and it was the worst thing I could have done. Ugh. So overall, what can I say? But that it was weird and difficult to watch. And it felt like there were some spoilers, right? Sarah saying that Clayton stirred his own pot for his own season. The conversation circles back. And again, Clayton says that he didn't cry. Finally, let's put that to rest. So what? Okay, so what? She got caught in a lie. But finally we hear that there's some kind of messy ending. And the question comes back to Clayton, who are you to act in a certain way and treat women a certain way and subject them to this kind of behavior? Ooh, what did they do to deserve this? And those words are not words we've heard before. So I'm just sitting with them, wondering, and I know that we're not close to the ending yet. But I do look at that. What was missing for me was this idea about Clayton really making the women feel safe, really making them feel seen. I know he says and he gives words to it, but I just wondered if he had the ability to back that up. So here's what I think. Okay, I want to end this tell-all on a positive note because it was just, again, painful. But what if we did a different kind of tell-all? Because I've already heard in the statistics that like 70% of people say, get rid of the tell-all. We're not learning anything new. It's not part of the journey. And it's just gotten to the point that it's so negative. I mean, women were standing on their chairs yelling at each other. What possibly, how is this even escapist for me in my life to watch this? It's stressful. What if instead we had a tell-all? I know, call me naive, a tell-all where we told all what we appreciate about them. What if we had a tell-all and people told all about their beauty regime? What if we had a tell-all and people did something about their own life and they told all about a new skill or a craft? What if we did a different kind of tell-all where women put each other up, hashtag women support women, where they told each other about the friendship, or it was just all jokes or bloopers? Because I would want to watch bloopers from the whole season. I could watch an hour of that. And if we had a positive edit for the lead, because here's the thing, I know the ratings are all about drama, but I know, because I listen to your comments and I follow this closely, that you want to see a happy ending just as much as I do. Because, as I've said, we're all on a journey to find love and we just want to figure out how to do it better. But let me know, what would you think of a different kind of tell-all? A tell-all that was positive, not gossipy and spilling the tea for the sake of it, and who can bully one, who can up one more person the other way because they were hurt on the show. Everyone puts their life on hold. We all appreciate that because it's for all of our own viewings. But let's find a different way to have a tell-all. Let me know what you think in the comments. And make sure to subscribe to my channel because I've got another episode coming up for you about fantasy suites.